What is up, guys? It's Brillymister here, and in today's video we're going to talk about my personal top 10 things that you can alch for a profit. This can be for actively alching or for a passive income through putting it in your invention machines. If you've been enjoying my videos up to now, please remember to subscribe so that you never miss any of my future content. For this guide, I took the price of nature runes being 407 GP each, as that's what they would instant buy at today, and I'll be assuming that you're using a fire staff, so you don't use any fire runes. I also took the price for all the items as what they would instantly buy at today, so you can definitely increase your profits if you slow buy them over time or overnight. However, prices may fluctuate into the future. So first up, and coming in at number 10 on the list, is a tried and trusted classic, Magic ShieldBows. While the GP per out for them isn't the best, they do have a decent buy limit of 5,000 every 4 hours, and they're traded in a fairly high volume as they use for fletching, so that makes them quite easy to acquire. If you combine that with a low item cost, and it's a good item to alch if you have a low amount of starting cash, that's how they get to being number 10 on this list. However, the small profit per item that they give isn't really worth it if you're going to be putting them in an invention machine, as the cost of the divine charges would pretty much negate any noticeable profits you'd be gaining. Number 9. In this spot we've got black d'hide bodies. They also have a 5,000 buy limit for every 4 hours, and being a high trade volume item, they're again easy to acquire. While the current profit per item is pretty similar to Magic ShieldBows, if you buy these towards the end or just after a double XP weekend, you can get them much cheaper, and that will greatly increase your profit per item. Taking up the 8th spot on this list, we have red Dragonhide Shields. They're similar to the previous item above in the fact that they have a 5,000 buy limit, and they will always be a lot more profitable at the end or after a double XP weekend. However, they do return still a pretty decent 176 GP profit per item at the current prices, and they're still a relatively low price per item, allowing for you to mass buy them without a massive cash stack. That's what's earned them the 8th position on this list, rather than featuring any lower or any higher. 7th place is taken up by yet another crafting item, which will follow the same trends as the items above. They'll be cheaper after a double XP weekend, and they also have a 5,000 buy limit. These items though provide a much better profit per hour, because you get 457 GP at today's price from the Dragonhide bodies, which combined with how relatively easy they are to acquire in a high volume makes them a great option for a passive income stream from sticking them in your invention machines and just forgetting about them. On to 6th place, and it follows the same trends as above, and it is yet another crafting item. Where this list used to a year or so ago be dominated by smithing items, the mining and smithing rework kind of killed all that, so it is now predominantly crafting items that's on here. And this item is very, very similar to above in terms of how easy it is to get hold of and how much profit per item you make. So I would recommend that you just use whichever one's cheaper at the time, as they are very, very similar, and they will chop and change between being 6th and 7th really on this list. In 5th place on the list we have Dragonstone Bracelets. These actually offer the second highest profit per alch on the entire list. You get 547 GP per item, which is really, really good really. It allows you to get a massive 287 mil a year passive income if you stick them in an invention machine, and that's just from a single alching machine. The only thing that holds these back from appearing higher up on this list is their low trade volume. You can only buy 500 every 4 hours, and there's less of them traded in the G, which makes them harder to get hold of consistently. However, if you are willing to wait and leave offers in for a long time, then these are a brilliant high profit per item thing to alch. Next up we have 4th placed on the list, which today goes to enhanced Ascendri Bolts. They're a great option for passive income or actively alching for magic XP. They provide 478 GP profit per alch, and they have a really high buy limit of 10,000 per 4 hours. They're a fairly frequent drop in high-end PVM, meaning that there's a fairly consistent supply of them on the GE, so you shouldn't ever have to wait too long to buy them, and their high buy limit allows you to not really ever run out between buy limits. So now we're on to the top 3, the big boys of high alching, and in 3rd place we have another absolute classic alch item, which is Onyx Bolts Enchanted. And for good reason. These have an incredibly high buy limit of 25,000 per 4 hours, which means you will literally never run out as long as you have a buy offer in there. as well as them being dropped in large quantities from a lot of mid to high level PVM creatures, which means that there is always absolutely tons of them in the Grand Exchange for you to buy. They still offer a fairly competitive 394 GP profit per alch, which if you add it all up can total up to 567k per day if you stick them in an invention alching machine. Coming in as a runner-up on my list, and I really did have to put a bit of thought into this as to whether they were going to be third or second on the list, is Elemental BattleStaves. For the test I used Earth BattleStaves as they were the cheapest by a fairly small margin. However, you should really just choose whichever one's cheaper or buy easier for you at your time of purchase. These are frequently dropped by Slayer creatures, as well as being used to train craft, and it means there's always a large supply of them in the Grand Exchange, which paired with the relatively low cost per item makes them ideal to buy and have a big stack of them, and you can keep your invention machine topped up at a fairly minimal cash stack being taken out. They do have only a 1000 buy limit, however there is 4 of them, so you can kind of rotate between the 4, so if you are actively alching you will just about be able to keep up with it, but they're still not the greatest for actively alching, but they're really good for sticking in your invention machine. So that of course leaves us with number 1 and the absolute current king of alchs, Rune Salvage. So for the test that I did today, I used huge plated Rune Salvage, which instantly bought for 39,020 GP. However, if you are willing to wait a little time for them to buy, huge spiky Salvage was 200 GP cheaper than that, making another 200 GP profit per alch, which is pretty insane really when you're alching such a high amount of them. With a buy limit of these having 25,000 per 4 hours, and they're frequently being dropped all the time by various Slayer creatures, they're always in plentiful supply, and with making over 300 mil a year profit just from filling up one alch machine in your invention setup, then I don't know why anyone wouldn't do these. If you can configure your invention setup to have 2 high alchers in there, then you can double that and you can make 600 mil a year, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it, and that is why they are well deserving of the number 1 and top slots currently on my list. Thank you all very much for watching my top 10 things to high alch. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe and hit the little bell icon if you want to be notified and see all of my future content. There's also a link in the description to my Discord server, so you can click that and join up if you want to join in the community and just have a bit more discussion with me and everything about stuff. Thank you very much for watching. See ya.